English translation 185th contact. Saturday, 7th May, 1983. 19 Hans hours.
It is but a joy that you also come here again, my friend.
Are you not content with Talsda as a representative?
Sure, I have nothing to find fault with her.
It would have surprised me also. Why I have come has its basis in the fact that you now have the 2 cows in the stable. Concerning this, some peculiarities have become noticeable to me since yesterday, about which I would like to speak with you, and which are in need of an urgent change. These are, however, concerns that we do not necessarily have to keep as a report, so we can also talk about this unofficially.
I totally agree with that, also since Talsda has recently omitted transmitting the reports to me for each contact. So I was simply able to take notes, after which I could then report the necessities to the group members. On the other hand, this saves me a great deal of work and nervous tension because if I do not have to write unpleasant things, then I have less to be annoyed about.
I am also of this view, which is why I found a reason to reveal only really interesting facts to our friend for the time being.
I have no objections to raise against that, because his health has no longer been the best for a long time. The constant annoyances and excitements have affected him very badly, which you, my friend, cannot deny if I ask you. Even today you look rather bad, and as I have already determined, a renewed and rather serious evil has befallen you, which you can no longer take lightly. But about that we also want to speak better afterwards, in an unofficial form. You probably do not want to let us help you?
Not interested. You know my attitude towards the fact that I do not have any more rights than other human beings of this planet, even if it means for me that I might no longer be able to fulfill my mission on the earth in this life, and must be content with the small percentage of performed work, which I was able to do until now, and which I can yet finish in the future.
You are very depressed, my friend.
How should this be different when one knows what is in store for him, before he can even fulfill a third of his workload?
But this is not your fault. You have been kept from this through the evil machinations of various Earth humans, and have been forced to devote yourself to other tasks that should have been done by others. In addition, your health left more and more to be desired, which is solely due to the fact that through all the annoyances and grievances, etc., your power to withstand your opponents dissipated more and more.
And it is incomprehensible to us that you are still alive, because humanly speaking, everything cannot be borne and cannot be withstood.
That may be, perhaps, which I must now admit when I think about it.
So your realization has come, even though it is rather late. You always used to deny this.
I know, but the last 2 months have shown me that you were right with your depictions. It is just that this realization is of no use to me now. In any case, I can no longer fulfill my task. If I would have only dedicated myself to my sole task, and if I would have worn myself out less with annoyances, then it would have been different.
Especially when you're linked with the least of self-reproach.
That is of correctness, my friend, because your achievements and your inexhaustible perseverance correspond to multiples of what a person of your constitution can perform. A fact that we cannot understand yet. The fault truly does not lie with you.
Do you know what I would like?
That everything would be like it was at the beginning of our contacts.
Right, you got it.
You have talked about this often enough.
I know. It is simply not explainable to me as to why everything had to develop in such a manner, even though I know where the mistakes lie and where they have been committed. The human beings of this world are really very strange and amusing. All progress, love, knowledge, wisdom, logic, and everything worth knowing is served to them on a silver platter. Yet the human beings do not reach for it, but rather simply push it away and destroy it. And all this, even though they actually want to have it unconditionally. But instead, they push away what they want to have and what they want to call their own. And so, they are dissatisfied in evil forms and can never do what they actually want to do. Thus, their own desires neither find fulfillment nor satisfaction, because these desires always remain unfulfilled, as well as the actions, deeds, and businesses that would like to be done by these human beings, and which only remain as wants. So it is with these human beings of the world also with regard to love, knowledge, wisdom, logic, peace, and tranquility, and also regarding the certainty that death holds no fear in itself, as I have described in Life and Death, Billy's book, Leben und Tod. However, I have brought all knowledge of these things near to these human beings, and made this clear through my writings and words. But all was in vain, even though I just know that these damn earth folks still want to have everything and want to call it all their own. Yet they push everything far away from themselves because they want to be in their megalomania even very much more than they truly are. Instead of only seeing themselves as great as they truly are, they see themselves as much greater, and also accordingly act megalomaniacally in that they want to make better decisions than what are given by the laws and recommendations of the creation. And yet, because the human beings somehow understand that their wrong decisions, deeds, thoughts, feelings, and actions are wrong and destructive, they search for the truth of love, knowledge, logic and wisdom, peace and rest, etc., and yet they push it all away when it is given to them. All of this, in turn, incites uncontrollable rage, anger, and even hatred in human beings, which then leads to murder and manslaughter. Then, through this, the injustice of their own wrong actions and their own wrong thinking, which originates and blazes within them, so degenerates that they transfer all of their own injustice, anger, hatred, and rage, etc., onto others, who then become aggressively attacked and harassed. Thus, they express their own inadequacy and lack of independence, as well as their own fallibility and injustice. Through these activities, the human being of the earth is violent, destructive, and eager to kill in a form that must be described as an addiction. And because this addiction is rooted deep within the person, and because he or she lives in accordance with this, they are also happy and delighted in their aggressive actions, behavior, and thoughts towards their fellow humans and all remaining fellow creatures. Day after day, the person feeds on the misery, death, and destruction of other human beings, of their fellow human, their neighbor. And they likewise feed on the joy of their own aggression that they deliver to their neighbor. And why all this? As I have already said, it automatically arises from the fact that still other reasons are rooted within them, such as the fact that this rotten behavior must not be painted before him, them, and must not be swept in front of their own door, for throughout this entire doing, they studiously overlook their own dirt. The human being very well has their free will, in order to be able to act rightly or wrongly, positively or negatively. But this will not be used positively by the human being of the earth. As a rule, the person simply makes himself or herself to be the stereotype of another, or he or she degenerates in his or her own negative form. However, this automatically leads to the fact that the positives are always pushed into the background and become destroyed, while the negatives become widespread and begin to dominate the world in their final form. But this means that the earth human being will never be able to resolve this ill if they do not begin with themselves in order to change these things. First and foremost, the person has to change in himself or herself in order then to change and bring healing to his or her person-to-person relationships. But this means that the human being of the earth must finally find the unconditional love and put it to use, for this is the only medicine that can cure the gigantic evil of the earth human. All too often, I have heard that love can change everything, and that love changes human beings. That is probably right, but only within the context that also a consistent discipline is exercised, which is why not only unconditional love can and should be preached, but also the necessary teaching must be incorporated therein.
But now you just fulfill this mission.
I should do that, yes, but one simply does not get through. There are, for example, new sects that are springing up like poisonous mushrooms, and that allegedly spread love. This is, however, only a pretense of love, which makes the believers dependents and slaves. The bosses of the sects can be recognized damn quickly, who can be enormous means of power and exploitation, trust, and unconditional love, if it concerns a false and cultivated love. Thus, the love becomes, then, the means of power and exploitation, and all knowledge is removed from them, whereby fear and terror, discontentment, hatred, fanaticism, rage, and inadequacy can certainly take possession of the human beings again.
The range and accuracy of your words are very well known to us. Also the fact that you deliver these truths to the Earth humans according to the best knowledge, understanding, and skills that are in accord with the mission, and we also very well know how much unconditional love is in you, which motivates you to accomplish your tremendous achievements. And how strong your unconditional love is for the truth, for the fulfillment of the laws and recommendations of the creation, and for the human beings and all remaining life forms. Probably no one can judge better than we, who have accompanied you in this life-preserving mission over all these years. This unconditional love inside you, for all that is creational and, thus, for all forms of life, also forms the basic, driving force behind the fact that you further fulfill your mission in spite of all adversities, even though you know very well that you may no longer be able to fulfill it to the fullest. And it is this same unconditional love that also allows you to continue to stand up for all those human beings who destroyed so many years of your life, which you would yet have to live and which you would yet have to work, in order to be still able to fulfill your mission within the full framework.
I would not know what reason there could be in order to be able to destroy a once created, honest, and truthfully love. That is simply impossible for me, which is why it is also impossible that I could no longer stand up for those human beings who have ruined my life and who continue to ruin it. On the contrary, I think that I must still find solutions very quickly, and also ways to be able, perhaps, to show the fallible ones the right path yet. This is also the reason why I would have to make a proposal, if you want to hear it.
If it is a proposal that only refers to forbearance, then it can find no ear.
That cannot be so, for our friend is thinking ahead.
The contacts with you should last until 1986, if I survive up to that time, right?
That is of correctness. That should actually be the case.
Good. Then can you tell me who was planned to lead the further contacts, starting from 1986, and from where these human beings should come?
I can answer these questions for you because we soon would have spoken with you about this anyways. It was planned that further contacts are to be established from the Dal universe, and again, a female person was decided on for these tasks. Her name is Silipha, one who fights for the truth.
Nice. Then my proposal. Would it not be possible that, as an exception, and while still being compliant with a part of the good purpose of the mission, this new contact could take place earlier and even now, whereby we could already create a new beginning for everything? I mean, so that we could restore with it that original state, which also prevailed when Simyase came, and before the negative things arose. You of the Pleiades could still fulfill your remaining task concerning the contacts and the mission, and simply 2 different contacts would run. This would give us the opportunity to find a new beginning that would be unencumbered by all the negative incidents in recent years.
That is a tremendous idea.
But one that is typical of our friend, whom you should never underestimate. The proposing of your considerations claims admiration from me, my friend, and it might actually be the full solution to all problems. But to decide whether everything can be carried out within this framework, that is not my decision to make. For this, I first have to ask the High Council for its advice, after which our entire leadership on ERA must then be asked in order to evaluate it and come to a decision, together with all those who cooperate with me in our mission. Then, it would be very necessary that once again you would have to appear before the entire leadership of ERA. On my side, however, I see a lot of positives in your proposal, and if I consider all the innumerable achievements on your part and your wisdom and all that, which is why you fulfill your mission at all, then I see no difficulties that could arise toward your proposal, which would actually resolve all problems with a single stroke. There is just the question as to whether after that everything would actually continue in such a wise as it was originally planned, or as it can yet be expected. But in this regard, you would have to appear before the leadership councils of ERA once again, and maybe even before the High Council.
I could do that, if you can already do a few things with it.
You are equal to those and thus also to me in this assessment, which I actually already explained to you some time ago.
But now you are mad and crazy.
My words correspond to the truth. Your proposal is of such value that tomorrow I will strive to present these matters to the High Council and to our leadership councils. I will certainly be back by midnight, after which I will then inform you in detail. So now we want to conclude our conversation so that I can still make the necessary preparations. Goodbye and be of good hope.
Sometimes you are very mysterious to me, my dear friend, but Quetzal will explain everything to me in detail. Goodbye!
Take care, everyone. Bye, and lots of love to ERA and to the High Council.